Welcome back to Saph Reacts, and this is part 9 of Take Me Back to Eden's discussion and analysis series, and this is Do You Wish That You Love Me? Now, I know that there are quite a few people who consider this the weakest track on the album. For me, I actually really enjoy this track. I think it's a lovely change of pace. But I do understand that people are very conflicted about it, and that's absolutely fine. It's one of the things I love about music. It's very subjective. For me, I think it comes at just the right moment in the album because the previous 3 tracks were very heavy emotionally. So I think it comes at quite a nice moment in the album. With that said, we are going to go ahead and dive on in. I love this little guy.
Do you roll with the waves? Or do you duck into deep blue safety? Is it always the same? Do you wish that you loved me? Do you pull out the chains? Or do you push into constant aching? Each and every day. Do you wish that you loved me? Is there something you give that you will never receive in return? Do you know what it is?
I'm going to pause there. That line, and obviously I'll talk about that more, but that line ties in so much with everything that I've discussed about all of the previous songs. And I just think, as I said, I think this is such a well-placed song on the album for that reason.
Do you wish that you loved me? Now are you trying to live like everything is a lesson to learn? Can you ever forgive yourself? Do you wish that you loved me? My reflection just won't smile back at me like I know it should, and I would turn into a stranger in an instant if I could. And there is something eating me alive, I don't know what it is. Maybe not that you conceal your feelings, they just don't exist. Do you ever believe that we can turn into different people? It's getting harder to be myself. Do you wish that you loved me? Could we ever release? Is it better to just not feel? Can we hit delete? Do you wish that you loved me? And it's been so long that I'm forgetting what it feels like, but I'd rather not remind myself and leave it all behind. And I try so hard to fix it all, but nothing seems to help. But I cannot hope to give you what I cannot give myself. Do you wish that you loved me? Smile.
That's important.
Do you wish that you loved me? Do you wish that you loved me? Oh, whoa. Do you wish that you loved me? Do you wish that you loved me? Do you wish that that you loved me? Do you wish that you loved me? Oh, oh, do you wish that you loved me?
You might need to explain Pikmin to me, Monst. I'm not 100% what that means. Um, I have my analysis for this written already, but something popped into my head as I was listening to that with you all, and I really wish Ratto was still here because it's something that he said about asking himself if he's really okay, asking his reflection if he's really okay. When he says, "My reflection won't smile at me like it ought to," I think I think we're onto something here. Anyway, this is why I wanted to do this, because it's not just it's not just my interpretation that matters, it's everybody's. And yes, exactly, you learn or you hear something new every time you listen to this album, and that's why. Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. It's probably intentional somewhere. So at first listen, it this song seems to be like it's unrequited love and the pain that that causes, and with that in mind feels oddly out of place after the last three songs: Ascensionism, Are You Really Okay, and The Apparition. But on further listens, for me at least, it feels more as though he's asking the other person if they wish they loved him, and more as though he's asking himself. It feels like a song of introspection and self-awareness. Perhaps he's finally breaking free of the hold that this person had on him, the memories, the hold that these memories are having on him. And it's all starting to fade, and now he's trying to find himself, love himself again. And this is solidified for me when you reach the second verse. Is there something that you give that you never receive in return? Do you know what it is? Do you wish that you love me? Are you trying to live like everything is a lesson to learn? Can you ever forgive yourself? Do you wish that you loved me? He knows that while he gave everything to this other person, it was never enough for them, and they never returned what he gave. It was a relationship filled with one-sided love and care, one where he gave all of the love he had and he kept none back for himself. And now he realizes that there are lessons to be learned from what he went through, and although he still carries guilt over what happened, again, potentially having lost this person to the accident in Granite, he has to forgive himself, and he has to learn to show himself that same love he's given to that other person. This is by and large a difficult process for him, as it would be for a lot of people. He sees that he isn't quite acting as he should, and he feels like he could turn into somebody he doesn't know. There is something eating away at him, but he can't figure out what that feeling is. This is someone that has lost himself entirely to somebody else, and now that they're gone, they've taken a large part of him with them, and it feels like he can't get that back. He moves on to talk about erasing feelings, thinking that perhaps it would be better if he just didn't feel anything at all, which I think is relatively common for people that have been through abusive and or toxic relationships. They believe that they were somehow at fault for the way the other person treated them, and if they didn't feel quite so much, they wouldn't have gone through it. And this leads him to believe that his feelings just shouldn't exist, and he wishes he could just delete them, release them, questions if it's better to just not feel anything at all, because at least that way he can't be hurt anymore. And again, this is something that is so common amongst people that have been through this cycle. They're often left feeling as if they haven't felt as much for the other person, or if they'd done even more for them, would things have been different? Would there have been anything that would have made the other person act in a different way? He says it's getting harder to be himself, but that it's been so long, he's just completely forgetting what being himself even feels like. he gave himself up to be what the other person wanted, and now he can't find his way back to himself, to the point where he feels like a different person, someone he doesn't recognize. He's not smiling back at himself in the mirror the way he thinks he should. Everything's kind of distorted a little bit. By this point, he doesn't actually want to remember who he was. He'd rather leave that in the past. He'd rather move forward, knowing that he did everything he could to make things better, but it was never enough for this other person. It never would have been, because they weren't interested in him the way that he was in them. So nothing he ever did would have convinced them to love him in the same way. But he realizes this, and he knows that ultimately he cannot give someone else what he can't give to himself. Now, there's an adage that that is closely connected to this, that is actually something I don't fully agree with, and it's the whole "you can't love someone until you love yourself" adage. Frankly, and this might be a tad controversial, I think that's nonsense. Because for me personally, and this is just me, I think that there are people out there that might not love themselves, but they can love someone that loves them back in just the same way, and it makes them forget what potentially hating themselves feels like. The other person's love for them is so strong and bright and beautiful that it burns away that negativity they feel from themselves. I mean, obviously that isn't the case for the relationship described in this album or this trilogy of albums, but it is something that perhaps he's thinking about, finding himself so that he can offer his love to somebody that will burn away the darkness with their love for him. He ends the song with the refrain, "Do you wish that you loved me?" coupled with the background, "Smile back at me, please." And he's asking his reflection to please just smile back, please just be okay, please just let me heal, let me move on. And I think that actually ties into "Are you really okay?" and the idea that Ratto had in an earlier episode of the series, where he's asking himself, "Are you really okay?" And this isn't wholly directed towards the other person anymore, or the other person's memory. It's directed at him. He wants to know if he can ever love himself, if he can be happy with himself and find himself again. So I think a lot of people that might dismiss that song out of hand, listen to it intuitively, please, just once. If you still hate it, you still hate it, but please give it another shot. We will move on to the next song, which is "Rain," to be in this playlist somewhere. So please do come back for that, and I will see you there. Thank you very much. Take care.